Hello and welcome to Odds Serie A Matchday 23. Inter Milan with the title in their pocket and Napoli doomed Leo out of the Champions League, out of the title race. But we expected a little bit more from Conte's second season, I guess.
Yes, hello, good morning. And to be honest, yes, out of the Champions League, 9 points behind Inter. But at the same time, and in the context of injuries, I don't think they did very bad yesterday. I mean, they could have even at least drawn. It wouldn't have changed anything. Lukaku had the last one, but yes, he couldn't score, and tough days for Napoli.
Yeah, probably the mistake was not against Chelsea, but against PSV.
No.
Or some other
Absolutely.
games against Copenhagen, for instance. And they are out also of the title race because not because of the draw in San Siro, it's because they are dropping points against minor teams. Well, let's analyze everything. Here we still have Atalanta and Inter going into the playoffs of this Champions League. So guys, stay tuned. Of course, don't forget to leave your comments. Tell me what you think about Napoli's Conte. Is he gonna get fired? Is he gonna finish the season? De Laurentiis is gonna ask him. You never know with De Laurentiis and Napoli. Let's go on now with the show. First game, I forgot also about Juventus. Juventus also going into the playoffs. Don't get angry. So 3 Italian teams, Inter, Juve, and Atalanta going into the playoffs of the Champions League. Leo, let's start with the game we have on Friday. Lazio, Genoa. For sure, we are not going to see Lazio next season in Europe. Once again, 11 points away. Drew with Lecce after the defeat 3-0. Against Como. Genoa, on the other hand, massive win against Bologna in good form, 2 wins and 3 draws, getting far from relegation.
Yes, absolutely. And it was so far, I think, the comeback of the season, the one from Genoa, what they've done against Bologna. They were 2-0 down at the start of the second half. And even though 𝐶𝐞𝐿's red card changed it all, and no one saw that coming, and it was just impressive because, look, they can win, they can lose, play better, they could be poor, as it was the case against Roma at the Olimpico when they lost 3-0. But if there is a message that Daniele De Rossi has been able to pass to his players, and the players have embraced that message, is that they will battle every game. Same as his manager when he was a player in Serie A. Ruslan Malilowski free kick was not just immediate punishment to 𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀 red card, but it was a beauty. 𝐿 goal was great for the 2-2. And what to say about 𝗀𝗻𝐵Cia's strike? I don't think that, or I can't remember the last time that Genoa supporters have seen 3 goals of that quality in the same game and scored by their own team. Probably they have seen it scored by the opposition, 3 great goals, but not 3 great goals by Genoa. It was really, really amazing. 6 points now away from the red zone. Look, this spirit of De Rossi that I just mentioned, you can look at some stats and it will tell you that. For example, 2 of the 5 players in Serie A with the most tackles are Genoa players, Massini and Fendrup. And now comes this Lazio at the back, as what you mentioned, the 0-0 away with Lecce. The reverse fixture was probably the best we have seen from Lazio all season. They won 3-0 in Genova, but we are far from that. Sarri got finally a replacement for Tati Castellanos. Daniel Maldini on loan from Atalanta until the end of the season, but he played very little so far, just 9 games, and he has yet to score this season. Lazio 5 matches without a win at home. Genoa 2 wins in the last 6 away, but momentum is with them. Might take here double chance Genoa, Edu, 1.80.
Pisa Sassuolo is our first game on Saturday. Both teams newly promoted, but Sassuolo is going to stay in Serie A, now 9 points away from Fiorentina after an important win against Cremonese. And Pisa, 4 points away from Lecce. There is still hope, but they are getting, it's been a while also without winning 6-2 in San Siro, despite getting 2-0 up.
Yes, it was dreamland for them, Edu, for 23 minutes at least in San Siro, but by halftime they were already back to earth, and the final whistle resembled more of a nightmare for Pisa. Stefano Moreo might still be asking himself why the night he scored one of the best goals of the season. It did not matter at all in the end. It was another game with Pisa scoring twice away from home. 16 of their 18 goals this season have been on the road. A win won't take them out of the drop zone, but will put them level with Fiorentina. However, 4 of the last 5 games at home have been defeats. But as well, the caveat there is that they played against Juventus, Inter, and 𝐿𝐴𝐴. The draw with Atalanta on Matchday 21 was, of course, a point, but this time as well, a point won't do much better for Pisa. And Sassuolo, huge win on the weekend against Cremonese, the first win in 2026, with 𝗲𝗲𝗀, the right winger, scoring after just 3 minutes. And from then, it was all Sassuolo, although they had to suffer a little bit at the end of the game. But 9 points cushion they have now with Fiorentina, this Sassuolo. And as you said, they're going to keep playing Serie A football next season. With Pisa at home, as we know, goals are not something to have. Remember, guys, just 2 goals scored at home this season for Pisa. Both teams to score no is at 1.21. Goals under 2.5 at 1.67. But Sassuolo have won 3 away games this season, and 2 of them were 6-pointers, Verona and Cagliari. Might take here Sassuolo to win, 2.6.
Okay, if you want something slightly safer, of course, you have the double chance or the Asian handicap 0 for Sassuolo. And the next one is Napoli-Fiorentina. You mentioned the effort of Napoli against Chelsea. They had the last chance to draw that game. They were in the front foot at the end of the first half, but they ended up losing. Really poor contest record in Europe. We were saying that for many months, and again out of the Champions League. In the group stages in Serie A is not getting better because they were overplayed by Juventus at the weekend. They are 9 points away from Inter, and it's only 1 win in the last 5 Serie A games. So a lot of negative records for Napoli and Fiorentina. Leo, we thought we were seeing Fiorentina seeing the light at the end of the tunnel, but the defeat against Cagliari was a big setback.
Yes, Edu, because it was a 6-pointer, because it was at home. But in the end, it was a step backwards for La Viola. And then you had to add that on Tuesday night, they got kicked out by Como in Coppa Italia at home. In a game they were winning 1-0. So after 4 games unbeaten, they're now at the back of 2 defeats. The version of Fiorentina against Cagliari was poor, very slow, allowing Cagliari to run freely. A sharp contrast to what we have seen against Bologna from this same team. It's only 1 win away in 11 matches for Fiorentina this season against Napoli, which is undefeated at the Diego Armando Maradona. So guys, take that as well into account, despite the moment of this Napoli, which, yes, of course, is bad. Contest record in Europe, as you mentioned, is very, very poor. But at the end of the day, I've been saying that Napoli needed to focus in Serie A more than in the Champions League, and now they're going to have to do that. But yes, they are trailing by 9 points, and with Juventus, it could have been worse than the 3-0. Probably against Chelsea, the best was that Antonio Vergara, the academy player, a boy who is in Napoli since he's 9 or 10 years old. He scored a wonderful goal against Chelsea, and he's going to keep playing from the start because David Neres now went through a surgery last week, and his recovery is going to demand even a little bit more time. But at least Lukaku is back and getting minutes. He had some minutes against Juventus, some minutes against Chelsea. But of course, this Napoli is decimated by injuries. They played with Elmas and Vergara behind Højlund against against Chelsea and also against Juventus, and in the best scenario they could have had 𝐻𝐿𝐴, De Bruyne, David Neres, or Noah Lang playing behind the striker. And this is not in detriment of 𝐿𝐴. I think he's been having a good season every time they call him. But 𝐻𝐿𝐴 against Juventus, he looked like so fatigued, drained, physically drained, because they cannot rest him because of all these injuries. And now as well, they added up 𝗻𝐿𝐴, the first choice goalkeeper. Against Chelsea was 𝐿EX, the one in goal. So everything goes from bad to worse for this Napoli. But still, they do have enough at home to win against Fiorentina. Now their focus is going to be in Serie A. That's why I can still trust them, this Napoli side. Anyway, might take here won't go 𝐿1 or definitely not 𝐿2, but it's both teams to score, yes, odds of 2.
Anyway, I think what Napoli have been doing this season is great, regardless of this problem that they are having this season. Winning the Serie A 2 years, two titles in 3 years is great indeed, and even I think being qualified for the Champions League is a reasonable goal for a club like Napoli. Next game, also on Saturday, is Cagliari Verona. Verona going to Serie B. They are not able to win any game. Lost to Udinese 1-3 after the draw with Cremonese. Is only 2 points in the last 7 games. And Cagliari, as we said, was a massive win in Florence. Also beat Juventus. Leo, they are going to stay one season more in Serie A, 8 points away now from the bottom 3.
Yes, look, the win in Sardinia against Juventus was big, absolutely, for Cagliari, but the one in Firenze, even bigger for them because it was a direct rival, and because Genoa also added 3 points on last weekend. The difference with the 1-0 against Juve is that night they got very lucky. We mentioned how many chances Juve had, and they couldn't take any. But with Fiorentina, they deserved it. Cagliari, they were the better team. Nothing spectacular, but a clinical performance. With Juventus, they had 25% possession. With Fiorentina, 30% possession. And even with Verona now, I'm playing at home, although those percentages for sure will go a little bit higher, I do not expect them to take the initiative. And that's this is Cagliari this season. Probably last season they were a little bit more entertaining, especially at home, a little bit more flair. But this season they look like a little bit more clinical in their performances. The MVP in Firenze was Marco Palestra, scoring 1, assisting the other for Cagliari. I think that with Palestra and Gabriele Zappa, Cagliari has probably the best right-hand side of all the mid to bottom teams. The last time Cagliari won 2 consecutive games this season was in September, when they won against Parma and Lecce, another relegation contenders. Actually, back then it was 3 consecutive wins because they also eliminated Frosinone from Coppa Italia on the time. And a win against Verona will take them with just 1 point of Udinese in 10th. And Verona, yes, poor form all season, 5 defeats in the last 7. The last win against Fiorentina at the start of December. On the road, they drew the last 2. So yes, Cagliari, the favorite here. Edu might take is going to be Cagliari Asian handicap minus 0.25, odds of 1.91.
For Sunday, we have Torino, Lecce. I guess the atmosphere is not going to be great in Torino after the full defeat with Como 6-0. The supporters were very angry, rightfully, to the team. Now 5 points away only from the bottom 3, 4 consecutive defeats in Serie A. So let's see if they are able to get the 3 points from Lecce, also coming in a bad moment, 5 defeats and 2 draws in the last games.
Yes, Edu, it was absolutely understandable, the ire of the Torino supporters at the lake against Como after the 6-0, which, look, the Como's thrashing in Turin of Torino was very bad, but the 6-0, it just leaves you speechless. I mean, there is a chance that Marco Baroni won't make it to Sunday, and if he does it, it's only because he's not critical, and he has not been critical of the directors or the president, 𝗀𝗏𝗀𝗏. Probably as well, he hasn't been fired yet because the club does not have a replacement still. Could this be the return of Ivan Juric and the club? Is one of the possibilities.
Oh
Would that help to change the course? Probably not. So yeah, now Torino has the worst defensive record in Serie A. They have conceded 40 goals in 22 games this season. It's 8 defeats in the last 11 for them. To have an idea, Monza, who finished bottom last season, and it was one of the worst sides in Serie A in the last decade, but this stage of the season, they have conceded 33 goals, while Torino has 40 conceded. It's just, they are relegation numbers, definitely. And Lecce, on the other hand, for sure value the point against Lazio much more after Fiorentina's defeat with Cagliari, because now they took the neck a little bit out of the water. They hit the crossbar and had another good chances in the first half in an otherwise quite grey, boring game with Lazio. Anyways, 5 defeats and 2 draws for them in the last 7, with the last win against Pisa in December for Lecce. Torino, 1 goal scored, Edu, in the last 4, and Lecce, 1 goal scored in the last 5. That's why my take here, both teams to score, no, 1.73.
I like this one again to avoid watching at all cost. Next one at the lake is 𝐿𝐴 for the European spots. This should be a good one. 𝐿𝐴 still in great form. Imagine that even Álvaro Morata scored a goal in Florence in Copa, and still also 𝐿𝐴 shining in that game before, as we mentioned before, the 6-0 against Torino. Now even close to the Champions League spots. Why not? And Atalanta 7th, 5 points away from Como, is 4 wins and 1 draw in the last 5 games in Serie A, and of course still alive in the Champions League, going to the playoffs.
Yes, it's very good for them that they are still alive in the Champions League. 2nd year in a row playing the playoff. Last season they got kicked out by 𝗀𝗏𝗀𝗏. We will see on Friday morning what's the draw for them. Going into Sunday is a crucial game for both, for Como because Como keeps looking up, and Atalanta because they want to keep pushing for a European spot this season in Serie A. They had the debut of Raspadori, Atalanta against Parma. He scored. It was a very good performance from Palladino's team, but of course Como is going to be a bigger test for them. But we are seeing slowly that the attacking threat from Atalanta that we used to love under Gasperini, Scamacca scoring, 𝗀𝗏𝗀𝗏 scoring again 4 goals in the last 4 matches for him, and also, as is the case with Como, Atalanta has a history of midfielders with presence inside the box. The other day was Martin de Roon arriving and scoring, but otherwise it could be the 𝗀𝗏𝗀𝗏, could be 𝗀𝗏, 𝗪𝗏. So this should be a very good and entertaining game for sure. Edu, and Como, yes, dreamland for them. 6-0 with Torino. The game was decided already by first half. They didn't even need the best 𝐿𝐴 against Torino. 𝐿𝐴 was rested against Fiorentina, but because 𝗀𝗏𝗀𝗏's injured, he needed to come on. So they would have even won it without 𝐿𝐴 as well against Fiorentina, although yes, he scored a crucial one for the 2-1 in Firenze. You mentioned Álvaro Morata scoring. Also Sergi Roberto, Edu, scoring against Fiorentina and returning after a long period out injured. Yes, they do have as well their own midfielders who have like a good GPS inside the box to arrive to the box, like Matheus Cunha, like Caceres, who scored against Torino. And when 𝐿𝐴 is not needed, then you have Baturina, again, another very good game after what he's done against Lazio, a great game against Torino. Because he scored a brace against Torino. It's a shame he got injured against Fiorentina in midweek. Como's defeat with Milan was the only one at home since March for them. But as you mentioned, Atalanta arriving at the back of 4 wins in the last 5. The odds are great either way, but I'm going to take the goals market. Goals over 2.5, odds of 1.91.
Next one, not far from Como in Cremona, we have Cremonese Inter. Here, of course, we have to check Inter to win. It's 9 wins and 1 draw in the last 10 Serie A games. Is impressive. We've been talking throughout the season how they were losing the key games, and it was a massive win, I think, in Dortmund, even if Borussia was playing for nothing. Inter also couldn't get into the top 8, but especially for the morale, Leo, I think was very important, and it looks like in Serie A they are not going to have any trouble to win this season the Scudetto, and they shouldn't have also any problems against Cremonese, 8 winless games.
Yes, they shouldn't. Should not provide any scare for them, Cremonese, on Sunday. We discussed a little bit with you and with Alain on the Champions League show. If Dortmund applied for she was one of the big games, I think we need to be fair with him, and I would take it as a yes. And finally, he won an important game, even though yes, they haven't made it to the last 8, but it was good for them to win away in Germany, 2-0, and now they can put an 8 points gap against Milan, Edu, because Milan is going to play on Tuesday against Bologna. So this is a great opportunity for this Inter that was watching a little bit in disbelief with Pisa going ahead 2-0 in the first half, but in the end, yes, the 5 point gap at top for them with the 6-2 winning. I like that Chivu took Luis Enrique out after 34 minutes against Pisa to bring on 𝗵𝗵𝗀. And I'm saying this that I like because sometimes managers are a bit reluctant to make changes in the first half. They are scared of scapegoating players. But Chivu, he just understood that he needed to change something quickly in order to change something on the game, and it paid off. 𝗵𝗵𝗀 was the MVP, 1 goal, 1 assist. He hit the post. He was a menace all the way, all the game from that left flank. So he's one of the top performers this season under Chivu, Fabrizio 𝗵𝗵𝗀. Now the eyes of Tifosi were also with Sommer, who provided a chance for Pisa for the first goal. That only helped to increase the rumors of Inter getting a new goalkeeper for next season. There is the talk of Emiliano Dibu Martinez arriving to San Siro next season. We will see. Nico Varela, a concern, he's injured and he won't be playing probably against Cremonese, who is starting to play with fire. This Cremonese in terms of the relegation battle. You mentioned, Edu, the 9 wins in the last 10 for Inter, and Cremonese 8 without winning with 5 defeats and just 2 goals scored in that run for Cremonese. Might take here Inter Asian handicap minus 1.5 odds of 1.91.
And the other Italian team that I forgot because the game in Champions League was to forget against Monaco is Juventus, also in the playoffs and in Serie A, also in good form, challenging for the top 4 after the big win against Napoli in one of the best games of the season. Now traveling to the Ennio Tardini, 5 points from relegation. Parma, 3 games without scoring, the local team.
Yes, and Juventus, as it was the case before with Inter, with Cremonese, Juventus should be taking here the 3 points at the end of Tardini. I mentioned last Champions League show that there was some tension in US game with Benfica. Spalletti even discussing with the supporters during the game, but last Sunday with Napoli was all different. The first half especially was one of the best since Spalletti replaced Igor Tudor. The team has already for a while get closer of what he wants from his team. There are certain elements there to have created this positive synergy in Turin, because Bremer in defense has brought the level of authority you need in a top side in that part of the pitch, because Locatelli is probably playing, and I agree with Alain, some of his best football in the last 2 seasons. Khéphren Thuram, MVP against Napoli, showing consistently that he's one of the best young midfielders in Europe, combining capacity for tackles and a capacity for flair as well. Then you have McKennie. I keep been talking about him a lot. He's out of contract in the summer, but playing his best football in his Juventus career. Spalletti, and I like what I read, is like I can't remember where I read it, but like he's doing Spalletti the same with McKennie as he has done with Simone Perrotta in Roma. After the game, Spalletti said that McKennie could be a perfect center forward because his GPS in the box is outstanding. And then you have the local young with Miretti in Juventus since he's 8 years old. And Jonathan David, if Jonathan David would not have missed that penalty, if you remember, against Lecce, Edu, or if Juventus could have taken some of the chances they created against Cagliari, probably we will be talking of 𝗵𝗵𝐿 involved in the title race. At the moment, is not the case for them. But this trip to Dino Tardini comes at the back of that 4-0 defeat, thrashing of Atalanta against Parma. And Parma, 1 win in the last 5, 1 goal scored in the last 5 as well, just for Parma. The 1.5 on 𝐿𝐿 is already a good start. But my take here is Juventus 0.5, these two together, odds of 1.96.
And the next one in Udine, we have Udinese, Roma. These kind of games, Roma should take the 3 points if they want to finish in the top 4. Yeah. They drew with Milan. They were better, Leo, especially in the first half. But again, they are unable to beat a top 5, top 6 in Italy. This time was a draw only against Milan, with Maignan as the big guy of the game. Before that, away from home, beat Torino or Lecce, for instance. What to say about Udinese, the classic mid-table team, Leo? I'm not going to waste any of my time with Udinese.
Yes, Edu, and the win for Udinese against Verona was the second win in the last 5. In the kind of type of game that they tend to win, they won against Verona, Torino, Parma, Lecce. But this is also the type of game that Roma usually wins. Yeah. Torino, Sassuolo, Genoa, Lecce, Cremonese, Parma, and they won also the reverse fixture against Udinese. It was a very good Roma. I think they were unlucky with Milan, especially the first half was very good. It seems a kind of like deja vu with the reverse fixture in San Siro when Roma dominated. They had a penalty to equalize, and 𝗵𝗵𝗏 missed it, or Maignan saved it, and this time Pellegrini was able to make it 1-1. But I think it was a good performance overall. The first 20 minutes they had 7 shots, Roma. So basically the press was high, relentless in the first half an hour. Second half was, yes, of course, a little bit different, especially after Milan scored. But I think we are seeing signs of a team that is growing. I like that Gasperini keeps saying, because Roma plays Europa League on Thursday night. They are 6 on the table, so at the moment they are straight into the last 16. But Gasperini keeps saying, my focus is Serie A. I don't care about Europa League, so he's going to rotate against Panathinaikos. Looking forward to this game against Udinese. They have 5 strikers, and none of them is going to be able to play against Panathinaikos because they have Dobbik and Ferguson injured. Malen cannot play because he's not registered in Europa League. Arena is only 16 years old, and Gasperini does not want to rush him. He's too young. And 𝗵𝗏𝗏 came out with a knock in his knee, so he's going to be preserved for the trip to Udine. My take here, Edu, Roma to win, odds of 2.
Indeed, they usually beat the lesser teams this season. And for Tuesday, as you said, we have a good game, Bologna. Milan right now the only team to chase Inter, 5 points away after the draw with Parma, but Maignan was the best player in that game, apart from the assist from Luka Modric. Let's see if Milan are able to beat Bologna, although, Leo, if you have to choose when to visit the Renato Dallara, you would choose now. It's only one win in the last 10 Serie A games. What is going on with Bologna?
Yes, Edu, it's a strange moment for them after start of the season, or from September to November. I was saying that it was one of the best teams to watch as a neutral Bologna, and from them on, it's been madness. Just to have now Udinese 1 point behind, it says it all. They were looking for Europe, and now they are looking for a mid-table finish. It's just not good at all, and it's a good chance for Milan to keep chasing the Scudetto against Inter, although there is a huge chance for them to start the game 8 points behind the Inter, which is going to add some pressure on Allegri's side, which they weren't at their best against Roma. I agree with you, Bachanian, the MVP for them. He was the reason why the game finished 1-1 and not in a defeat. Allegri continues with this rhetoric of not being in a title contender, and he mentioned that the draw was positive for Milan, which that first half was difficult for them to beat Roma's press. And now we're going to see, because Bologna usually on a good night, they are a team as well who likes to press 1v1 and high, but at the moment with one win in the last 10, I think it's going to be difficult to see them pressing as they would like, or as Vincenzo Italiano would like in the Renato Dallara. There is also a positive sign for Milan at the end of the day, that they are like unbeaten in the last 21 games, because their only defeat was their debut against Cremonese at home. And away from home is 6 wins and 5 draws for them. So as well, they're undefeated away from home this Milan, and they're going to face a team who still cannot understand how they went from 2-0 up against Genoa away to lose that game. Milan, Edu, look, since the 23rd of November, they only scored once in the first half of games. And again, they're going to be cautious as they have been against Roma. This is not going to change the approach of Allegri. Low block, even if they have in front a Bologna side who is far from their best. That's why my take here is a different one. It's going to be away team, highest scoring half being the second half. In this case, of course, I'm talking about Milan, odds of 2.5.
Okay, so Milan is scoring more goals in the second half. Right?
Exactly, yes. Yeah.
All right, 8 draws for Milan this season is just too many if you want to challenge for the Scudetto, but still there is some hope. The bookies put odds of 8 for Milan to win this Serie A. Is going to be very, very difficult. Well, guys, remember, of course, we have our tipster competitions ready for you. We are going to start February, so another opportunity for you to participate in our monthly tipster competitions, and check out also Rivals, where you can create your own tipster competition absolutely for free if you register in our website. Leo, safe bet.
Inter to win, 1.3, Edu.
And the ACCA?
Inter to win, combined with goals over 1.5. Juventus to win, and como Atalanta goals over 2.5. These three together, odds of 4.46.
All right, last week, by the way, our international ACCA was correct, so let's try our best. Once again, Leo, thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you.